All right, so this is a little bit different than the content I normally do, and certainly a little bit different than some of the content I've been doing lately. Like, listen, guys, I'm trying to change up the content on this channel, honestly, because I need a little bit of a break, and I need to keep some of my sanity, and just thinking about critical race theory all the time is not healthy. It is not good for me. I am slowly descending into madness. I actually think literally at this point. So I hope you don't mind so much that I'm kind of playing with the content on the channel, playing with the format on the channel. I know that some of you subscribe to me to get certain things, and I get that, but just bear with me. I need to take a little bit of a break. So if you don't want to watch the content I'm producing, don't watch it. If you want to just watch the short videos like this, that's cool too. But I want to try to give you a good mix lately. And I saw this article pop up on Breitbart yesterday, and it instantly grabbed my attention. Former Wikipedia Foundation staff claim workplace bullying anti-union retaliation. And it caught my attention because I don't know how many of you know this. I know some of you do. So the doctor in my channel, that's because I have a PhD in psychology. My specialization was in industrial organizational psychology, and my dissertation was about workplace bullying. So I spent about 10 years of my life studying workplace bullying. My specific dissertation was about how young professionals cope with being the target of workplace bullying, what that process looks like for them, to try to provide information for people about how to best help young professionals, really anyone under the age of 35, through that process, get them into a better place, all that good stuff. So anytime I see stuff about workplace bullying, that instantly piques my interest as something I want to take a look at. So I thought that we would read this article together to find out what the heck is going on at Wikipedia. A former staffer at the Wikimedia Foundation, which owns Wikipedia, recently published a statement accusing high-level foundation managers of workplace bullying based on his autism. Earlier this month, another former staff came forward with similar allegations of mistreatment by foundation management. Some allege were the subject to retaliation after complaining of the treatment, with one suggesting it was tied to his union organizing activities. So I want to say this. I've actually worked with more people than I would have actually thought that are on the spectrum, that have autism in, it's in some form or another. And it is actually really common for them to be the target of workplace bullying, mostly because they can be really misunderstood in the workplace. It's very easy to misinterpret their actions, why they do things, for people who don't understand exactly kind of like what autism is and how it manifests. So it wouldn't actually surprise me at all to hear that someone with autism would be a target of workplace bullying. I've seen it time and time and time again, even in some of the most liberal companies that I've worked with. Several Wikipedia editors pushed co-founder Jimmy Wales for action at the foundation, where Wales sits on the board of trustees. However, Wales rebuffed these requests by suggesting that staff pursue matters through internal channels, despite several former staff alleging that the channels had tried and failed. It is also not uncommon for internal channels to just completely fail people that are targets of workplace bullying. And actually, it's only workplace bullying only gets reported to HR about 40% of the time. And when it is reported, HR will only help the person reporting it about 20% of the time. So you got a 2 out of 10 chance. If you report your workplace bullying to HR, you have a 2 out of 10 chance that they will actually help you. What happens most of the time is HR does nothing. They do absolutely nothing. They don't investigate it. They just say, oh, you're just having interpersonal problems, and they send you on your merry way. Now, when we're talking about a topic like workplace bullying, doing nothing can't be considered a neutral act, right? If you have two people and one of them is saying that person is bullying me, doing nothing about it is not a neutral act. It is actually taking the side of the bully by not investigating what's going on. Because if there's nothing going on, then why would anyone really, why would anyone be opposed to actually investigating it? So that's what happens most of the time. But what happens part of the time, too, is that the organization will actually retaliate against the person reporting the workplace bullying. So they'll make it very clear to them that they're not going to be successful there. They might try to transfer them away from the manager in a way that is not conducive to what the employee actually wants. They usually fire them directly. In fact, I've told the story of when I actually got myself fired from a job I had. because I promised Victor that I wouldn't quit and I was miserable. And so what I did is I went to HR and I reported my boss for being a workplace bully, which she actually was. I had it all documented and I provided HR with everything they would have needed to investigate the situation, like what workplace bullying is, how to investigate all this stuff. I laid it on thick, man, because I knew what would happen is the organization would retaliate against me for even reporting it, because that's extremely, extremely common. So it would not surprise me if what they said here was true, in that they had tried to go through internal channels and it just didn't work. They got no response, because that is what happens 80% of the time. James Hare, who worked as an associate project manager at the foundation from 2018 to 2019, posted a statement to a Wikipedia discussion area on May 22nd, where he discussed his experience working at the nonprofit. In his statement, Hare spoke favorably of his involvement with Wikipedia and related projects, but when he began working for the foundation that owns the site, he claimed, "What I got for my lifetime of work was the experience of working with bullies." Hare, who is autistic, alleged 2 members of the executive management had made him the object of repeated ridicule during his time at the foundation. Yep, that is absolutely a characteristic of workplace bullying. One of them, Hare alleges, only ever spoke to him in order to make fun of him. Absolutely character of workplace bullying. While not identifying either member of management, Hare said both were still employed at the foundation at the time of his statement. According to Hare, the treatment together with a generally chaotic work environment prompted him to resign after 18 months, and he further stated his experience at the foundation left him with post-traumatic stress, which actually really does happen with workplace bullying. And if he resigned 18 months after starting that job, it would not surprise me at all if he was specifically telling the truth. So there are 3 kinds of workplace bullying. The first kind has to do with bullying related to your actual job responsibilities. The second kind has to do with bullying related to your person, like gossip about you or ridiculing you, things like that. And the third, which is the most rare, actually has to do with like physical violence, sexual harassment, things like that. The most extreme end. And I say that's the most rare simply because the other 2 are actually a lot more common, but they're usually not identified as workplace bullying. So the most extreme end is the easiest thing to identify as workplace bullying. But the work-related bullying and person-related bullying are actually much more common. Here's the other thing, too, is that there can be a mixture of both. So it's not as though, in this case, what I'm hearing is these are attributes of person-related workplace bullying, because they're making fun of him, they're ridiculing him, that's attacking him as a person. It's not talking about his job responsibilities. So an example of work-related workplace bullying would be if your boss suddenly took all your tasks away from you and only gave you the most menial things. Or if your boss is constantly, this is actually an attribute of workplace bullying, if your boss is actually constantly putting more on your plate than you can handle, and you've talked to them about this and you've tried to prioritize, and they keep doing it repeatedly and they keep holding you to these unreasonable deadlines to basically trying to induce you to fail, that can be a characteristic of workplace bullying. So there can be a mix and match. It doesn't have to be all from one category. But I do find that the person-related workplace bullying is probably the most common, simply because it's one of those things that it is a power play. Workplace bullying, at the end of the day, just like critical race theory, workplace bullying is nothing more than a power play. It's about this person who is doing the bullying, targeting someone that they believe they can have power over. So when they're ridiculing them, when they're making fun of them, that is an attribute of workplace bullying directed at the person. Over a week after Hare's initial statement, other former staffers came forward about their harsh experiences at the Wikimedia Foundation. Dan Gary, a former lead project manager at the foundation who edits as Descana on Wikipedia, stated he experienced less serious issues that left him feeling unwelcomed and resigned out of concern for his mental health. Yep, workplace bullying. Former senior software engineer Brad, or Anami on Wikipedia, claimed that he tried to push back against increasing attempts at marginalization and workplace bullying. So marginalization, so there are attributes of workplace bullying related to, like, if your team members try to marginalize you from the team, like they push you out, like people refuse to talk to you, they refuse to help you on projects, things like that, That's what marginalization means. I know a lot of you are probably thinking about it in terms of critical race theory. You're thinking like marginalized communities. That's not what it means in this context. Different context, different definitions. That's what marginalization essentially means. You're being forced out of the team. That's what it means in this context. And submitted a complaint to Human Resources only to face massive retaliation a month later. What did I tell you? It's the most common thing that happens is that the organization will retaliate against the people reporting the workplace bullying. Another staffer, Adam, also claimed bullying from executives. And by the way, guys, like, I know that, again, context is important here because I know a lot of you guys are like, oh, they're just whining, they're just complaining. No, not with workplace bullying. With workplace bullying, it is actually extremely hard to get people to talk about it, and it is extremely hard to get people to identify it as workplace bullying. So I very rarely will say that people who are actively identifying something as workplace bullying are just complaining, because most of the time, it's something that is very hard for most people to talk about, and they only talk about it when it gets more and more extreme. So it's a little bit different. I know it's a different context than what we're used to, and I just want to make sure that nuance is really, really clear. Concerns from former staff tended to also express dismay at the foundation culture, which they saw as more benefiting a for-profit corporation rather than a nonprofit institution. Gary described it as not being that different from a short-term profit-focused companies, with Jurish arguing management was fostering a culture where their own image and career progression is a major goal all the way. Ooh. And he would associate more with cutthroat for-profit companies than a nonprofit. So the reason I highlight this section, he says, management was fostering a culture where their own image and career progression is a major goal in a way. So what we know about workplace bullying, or workplace bullies rather, is that people who tend to be workplace bullies tend to be really, really good at office politics. They're really good at office politics. They're really good at navigating the social structure. They're really good at not getting caught when they're doing bad things. So if someone is focused on their image, their career projection, kind of those classic narcissism qualities, that's someone that's probably going to be much more inclined to be a workplace bully. The allegations of mistreatment were raised with Wikipedia's founder Wales on his personal discussion page after Hare's initial statement, and again earlier this month after others came forward with their experience at the foundation. Editors pressed Wales to assure the claims would be properly investigated. In response, Wales stated he was unable to comment on specific personal matters other than to offer his assurances it would be examined, claiming the foundation was looking into it. I don't believe that for one red second. No, I don't. Wales further rejected the idea of editors appealing to him on such matters, calling himself a community member, though acknowledging he would get concerns before the foundation board where he holds a seat. He stated that there were appropriate mechanisms for handling staff issues and raising the matter to him, and therefore inappropriate, even though several allegations involve former staff having used the same mechanisms only to face retaliation. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to say that very few organizations actually have mechanisms in place to properly handle workplace bullying, and nothing in this article so far leads me to believe that Wikipedia has those mechanisms. Responding to this discussion, Wright elaborated on his bullying claims. Wright alleged that he was called in by several executives and told in an internal email he sent complaining of perceived excess management was too forceful in its tone. And that's a subjective thing, by the way. He states further he was told by an HR manager that messages they exchanged about potential reform were undesired, though he states the manager had encouraged him on the matter and might be included in a complaint against him. According to Wright, this occurred as he was looking to organize a staff union. Aha! Wright further alleged that after citing legal protections for labor organizing and whistleblowing, his pay was docked. So, yeah, I mean, this has all the classic signs of it. Is if HR is kind of playing this game where they're encouraging you to do something and then saying you really shouldn't have done that thing, or if they're focusing on the tone of an email, they're trying to get away with something. Absolutely. Allegations of employee mistreatment at the foundation comes as it is imposing a code of conduct for members and users contributing to Wikipedia and other sites it owns. The code of conduct includes rules regarding bullying and harassment, as well as advancing various left-wing identity politics points, blah, 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 blah. All right, so my assessment here is that I think they're telling the truth. That I think this reeks of like way too many warning signs of workplace bullying, and so I think they're telling the truth, and I would be fascinated to learn more. If there's anyone in Wikipedia that can provide me more information about this, get in touch, man. My information is in the description below. All right, guys, that's all I've got for this video, but I want to tell you about something that I use that you might really, really like. And we're going to shill a product, and I only shill products that I actually use in real life. And this one is HempWorks CBD oil. I love this stuff. I love this stuff. The link for this is in the pinned comment below, also in the description. They've got all sorts of awesome remedies and all the sorts of things, but we're specifically interested in HempWorks. They also have daily sprays and essential oils and all this other woo-woo stuff you guys know I like. But the HempWorks CBD oil is like the #1 thing that I really, really like. You can get all sorts of different flavors. I have the cinnamon one, and I also have the orange sunshine one. But I prefer the cinnamon one. It tastes like a red hot. The orange sunshine is fine, but I prefer the cinnamon one. And you just get a little bottle of it, and it really helps. You just put a couple drops under your tongue at the end of the day, the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. I actually keep it on my desk, so it's always right there in front of me as a reminder to do it, also as a reminder to put it in these videos. And it really does help me sleep. It helps me relax. It makes just life a lot easier. Has all sorts of awesome benefits that you can experience if you want to give it a try. So again, I will put this link in the description below for you to get yourself some awesome CBD oil and also support my channel in the process, which of course I greatly appreciate. All right, guys, that's all I have for right now. I'll see you soon.